next year and a 27 fifth round pick in exchange. They get George Pickens and a 27 sixth round pick. Clarence Hill of All City Dallas reports that Pickens not looking for a new deal, wants to show he's the top guy. Also reports Micah Parsons' contract talk solved.
This is Extra Innings with Pledger.
Truth is, I am Iron Man.
Rock and roll! The Texans win it!
You've been called the Da Vinci of our time. What do you say to that?
Absolutely ridiculous. I don't paint.
That ball is history. A walk-off home run.
And it's going to be legendary.
James Pledger wraps your day with insight, opinion, plenty of sarcasm, and of course, your calls. He'll even pour a beer out the door for his favorite story of the day. This is Extra Innings with Pledger. Now, here's Pledge.
What's up, Danger? Can't stop me now.
Welcome into Extra Innings with Pledger right here on San Antonio Sports Star 94.1 FM, sasportstar.com. I am James Pledger. Appreciate y'all riding with me tonight as we take you up till 7 o'clock right here on San Antonio Sports Star. Once again, thank you for joining me, however you may be joining me, whether that is on 94.1 on your FM dial, if you happen to be locked in listening via our AA Best Bail Bonds audio player at sasportstar.com, or if you're watching the show live on YouTube. That's right, we stream all of our shows on YouTube. Just go there, search SA Sports Star. Go ahead, like, subscribe. You can comment along with the show as it happens. Sam, Fred, Gilbert P. I see a lot of people already loving where the Blitz ended off with the raw doggy and stuff like that. But it's really about the Dallas Cowboys today, and more so than most because Jerry decided to quadruple, hextuple, however many times you can double down on something. Jerry did it when talking about going all in, and he never went all in last year. But this year, he's done a lot. He's pulled the trigger on multiple trades. He has upgraded the running back room. Whether you think it should be a bigger name, may still be in the works for all we know, but the piece de resistance he finally pulled off this morning at about 6:05. I hear they're finalizing a trade for George Pickens as I'm getting ready to go to the gym. And then the trade finality details kind of trickle through about 6:30, 6:45, somewhere around there. And all day we're just left spinning, reacting. George Pickens, now a Dallas Cowboy, as they officially get their number 2 next to CeeDee Lamb. And the first guys that got to hear about it, got to talk about it, that's Rob and AJ this morning on the Morning Huddle.
The Dallas Cowboys pull off a trade with the Pittsburgh Steelers. George Pickens, the, what would we call him, mercurial wide receiver?
Well, he hasn't faded yet. So, yeah, mercurial kind of implies that he's on the downward trend.
No, I don't mean it that way. Maybe I don't mean it that way.
Yeah.
Maybe I'm using the wrong word.
But he could be mercurial.
I'm trying to think of a guy who he can be really good for you, or he can be a nightmare for you. He's a guy who is
volatile.
Yeah, maybe that's a good word. I think first of all, let me start by saying kudos to the Cowboys for going out and doing this. It's one thing to throw 4th round picks away like they're nothing and on a Jonathan Mingo, a guy who's never done anything in this league, and suddenly expect him to do it. Anytime you do that, I'm going to come out here and bash you. I don't care if Johnny Mingo went in round 1 2 years ago or not. He's had 2 years where he showed he's not a good NFL player, and you still gave up a real asset. Make no mistake, a 4th round pick is a real asset. Just like you gave up a 4th round pick for Trey Lance, a real asset for a guy you never got anything out of. This is a 3rd round pick. Again, real value, but I do believe this is a guy who is an impact player. And I don't think the Cowboys would give up a 3rd round pick. I say that like I just talked about, they throw him away willy-nilly. I don't think you give up a 3rd round pick when a guy's going into the last year of his rookie deal if you don't anticipate being the team that signs him to an extension.
I think you're exactly right.
You don't pay a third-round pick for a one-year rental of a wide receiver. So I think the Cowboys, I expect them to, and I don't know what kind of money George Pickens will command. It certainly won't be what CeeDee Lamb commanded or what Jamar Chase or these guys who just got huge money in the offseason got. But it's going to be a healthy amount of money, especially if he has a year that the Cowboys have reason to be excited about. So it is a commitment from the Cowboys, which I've been waiting for. I've been waiting for the Cowboys to go out and get a real impact player, not just some guy you hope is going to, slide through the cracks. That's not going to work. This is a situation where you're having to take on a guy who's got baggage. He is, his own coach was saying he's got to grow up. He's a pain in the ass. Guys like him with the kind of talent that he has, rarely are teams looking forward to getting rid of him. And the Steelers were looking forward to getting rid of George Pickens. But sometimes a new environment can be helpful. I think whatever you think of Dak, I think that Dak is going to be the best quarterback he's had throwing him balls.
Oh, easily
in his career.
And on the other side, this is the best tandem that Dak's had.
Did Dak had CD and Amari Cooper at the same time, right?
Well, you can go back to Dak with like Dez and Terrence Williams. He had CD, but by the time Cooper was done, man,
Cooper
they ended
was
up trading him for
declining
like a
at least.
6th-round pick. You go back, Dez, Terrence with Cole Beasley on the roster, Bryce Butler. That was a pretty good foursome. But as far as the tandem of starters, CD and Gallup, when Gallup was rookie in that second year healthy, was a pretty good tandem, but this duo has the numbers to prove it. Pickens is a productive receiver in an unproductive offense.
Yeah. Well, and Michael Gallup, I guess you're right. He had a 1,000-yard season once.
Yeah, his second year was pretty impressive. He did exactly what Dak needed. A guy that was going to go up and.
Michael Gallup's second year is very similar to George Pickens' second year.
Yeah, so this is as good as Dak has had, and God knows we got enough tight ends running around the building. So as far as guys to throw to, Dak's been taken care of.
Well, so this kind of, in my mind, this makes up for the fact that they didn't draft a wide receiver at all, even though Cowboys fan was clamoring for wide receiver help on draft day. They didn't get any on round 1, didn't get any round day 2, didn't get any day 3, and they're going, what the heck? And we said as much when we were kind of grading the Cowboys draft. I was a big believer. I didn't think the Cowboys should have taken a wide receiver in round 1. I think the Cowboys did the right thing by building on their line in round 1. But I was also like, well, now you're starting CD and a Jalen, and that ain't good.
Pick your favorite.
So this makes up for that in my mind.
It does. It absolutely does. But I will say this: they planned on praying that they did get a wide receiver in the first round. I do believe that they wanted the Arizona kid. That was the idea. They were hoping he was going to get there because we find out that the Cowboys and the Steelers were talking about this deal before the draft.
Mm-hmm.
And they couldn't make it work, which makes me think the Cowboys didn't want to make it work. They were hoping they could get the wide receiver, not worry about it. And they didn't get what they wanted. And now they're going to spend capital, which is a 3rd rounder now. And we do expect some pick swaps to be named before this deal is signed.
Yeah. So this is an investment. And again, I don't think the Cowboys make this investment unless they expect George Pickens to be a Cowboy for the foreseeable future.
Or on the other side of this, fail fast. Contract runs out next year, doesn't work. Goodbye. You're out a couple of draft picks and some swaps, but at least you're not hung around with.
But how often can the Cowboys just be out mid-round draft picks?
At some point, on the other side of this, I don't want to keep this dude around and have to pay him for output that isn't necessarily going to come.
And that's fair, but you also have to remember, if George Pickens at the end of the year doesn't work out, whatever, goes and signs a big deal somewhere else, or proves his value and goes and gets $35 million from somebody or $40 million, thinking he's the number 1, the Cowboys recoup that 3rd round pick and a compensatory pick the following year. So it's not that big of a deal. You're giving up a 3rd, but you get a 3rd if you lose him, most likely if he performs the way you expect him to perform and you can't re-sign him or find the money in the cushions or whatever it may be. So that's going to be different. Sam on our YouTube Live says, It does make up for it. Still not my favorite choice. Jamison Williams could have been better or would have been better. Sure, but different. Like with George Pickens, you're talking about just his passion. And, CeeDee Lamb got in trouble for similar things, yelling on the sideline, different facial reactions. George Pickens is a little more exorbitant about what he does when he's disgruntled, but it's nothing malicious. It's nothing that is legal. Jamison Williams, he's like a strike away from being banned from the NFL with all the stuff he's done with the gambling stuff. So, I mean, Jamison Williams is a much bigger risk you have to take, and depending what the Lions are looking for in return, may not be worth the squeeze, if you will, out of that line. That juice may not be worth the squeeze, at least to the Dallas Cowboys, when you're this close to getting done. Sam says Pickens will end up getting 20 to 25. Yeah, I think that's about right. So it's going to be very, very interesting to kind of see how this plays out. Gilbert P. said the trade should actually help the running game. Absolutely. And remember, Jerry's exact words were he's working on a couple of substantial trades before the draft. Now, none of those materialized before the draft. One of them was rumored to be this. And it finally happened now that the draft is over. Now that the draft is over, could his second trade also materialize? Because there was rumors that he was poking around Breece Hall and the New York Jets were looking to move off of him. Could they still be looking to add Breece Hall to that running back room along with Jaden Blue and Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams? We'll never know, but it's going to be very interesting to at least, who knows, maybe we wake up with another early morning surprise that the Cowboys have solidified the running back room even more, or they play it out as is and Javonte Williams returns to the form we saw pre-injury that he was starting to round into last year. It's going to be, look, the Cowboys, a lot of people were writing them off for how their roster was. But if you remember early in the year with Dak didn't have CD all of training camp, came in last minute. Then he finally gets his deal. Chemistry's off. He's dealing with an entirely new offensive line. Things don't start to sync up. Later in the year, that offensive line syncs up, and they steal a bunch of games late in the year. And that's without a number 2 receiver opposite CeeDee Lamb. Now you have CD. Now you have Ferguson. And remember, Ferguson missed a lot of time last year as well. They didn't have a running game until finally giving Rico Dowdle the ball, 13 weeks into the season after it was officially over. So a commitment to the running game from Brian Schottenheimer, the running game actually having success because of commitment to it, a better offensive line with another year in it, and a all-world offensive line prospect in Tyler Booker coming in. Dak, fully healthy, coming off that injury. CD in camp, George Pickens. This is a dangerous team, and let's not forget about that defense. That defense is stout. You added Siobhan Revel, who can at least play and supplement while Trayvon Diggs is out. You've got DeRon Bland. You've got Carson, who showed well last year before getting hurt. You added even more pass rushing to that defensive line. The linebacking unit got better. And of course, that back end was really good last year. So I think this team is going to be a lot better than they were given credit for until finally acquiring George Pickens. And everybody going, oh, yeah, well, now they've got a run game. Now the offensive line has come together. And, health willing, this team's got a chance to compete, not only for the playoffs, as Dan Orlovsky said, but they could be a team that if they gel right, can make a run. But it all comes down to the way it gels and how Brian Schottenheimer brings this team together. More on George Pickens coming up next as the Blitz talked with one of the ESPN Steelers reporters, Brooke Pryor, to give us all the insight on Pickens his relationship with the Steelers inside that locker room and what this trade means for the Dallas Cowboys. Brooke Pryor is going to break it all down next with the Blitz. Plus, your phone calls, reaction to this trade, 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776 if you want to be a part of the conversation. This is Extra Innings with Pleasure on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
John, what do you think about these tariffs? What do you think is going to happen? Well, I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. The prices on used cars have suddenly come up because the cost has gone up. And at GiveMeTheVin.com, we're paying more. Go to GiveMeTheVin.com, put in your license plate, and see for yourself. We're paying more today than we were yesterday. Remember, the tariffs have raised the car prices, and we are paying extra. GiveMeTheVin.com, America's best car buyer. Sell us your car.
Sell us your car. GiveMeTheVin.com. So easy you can do it in your underwear.
If you get arrested, get out of jail fast by calling AA Best Bail Bonds, 210-225-2121. Text bail to 474747 or online at mybestbailbonds.com. You don't have to call attorneys or anybody else. Don't be forced into a PR bond. If the jail offers you one, make sure you understand the conditions before accepting it. AA Best Bail Bonds. Nobody beats their price. They have payment plans. Call 210-225-2121 or mybestbailbonds.com.
License number 149.
When you're hiring, have you ever felt like you're missing out on meeting truly great candidates for your roles? It seems impossible to find them, but they have to be out there somewhere, right? Well, they're not hard to find when you know where to go, and that place is ZipRecruiter. And right now, you can try ZipRecruiter for free at ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter helps 10 million people with their job search every day. And because these people are actively looking for jobs just like yours, it's easy to find the right person right away. In fact, 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. But if you're not using ZipRecruiter, you're missing out. So see what it's like when the impossible is easy. When you go to ZipRecruiter.com/radio right now to try ZipRecruiter for free. Once again, that's ZipRecruiter.com/radio. ZipRecruiter.com/radio. Never miss out on great candidates with ZipRecruiter.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED because millions of men experience it, but not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. Hims can help. Through Hims.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED through a 100% online process. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to Hims.com/joy. HIMS.com/JOY.
Some people just know they could save hundreds on car insurance by checking Allstate first. Like you know to check the GPS directions first before driving to the mall.
Turn right at the light. In 1,000 miles, you will reach Montreal.
Not Montreal, the mall.
Recalculating. 6,000 miles to Nepal.
No, the mall.
Checking first is smart.
Recalculating.
So check Allstate first for a quote that could save you hundreds. You're in good hands with Allstate.
Savings vary. Subject to terms, conditions, and availability. Allstate Fire and Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Northbrook, Illinois.
Get ready for Camping World's Red, White, and New Trade Event, May 15th through the 18th. Get the highest value for your RV guaranteed during the biggest RV trade event of the year. Shop the best RV deals in America with new RVs starting as low as $92 a month. Get ready for the holiday weekend with up to 45% off grills and 25% off product installation. Plus, we'll have free hats, free propane refills, free food, and fun for the whole family. Don't miss the incredible Red, White, and New Trade Event, May 15th through the 18th at your local Camping World.
Full details and display.
Hey, listen up, San Antonio. Multiple tours overseas, long nights monitoring cyber activity, years of protecting the country. It all adds up at University of Maryland Global Campus. Earn up to 90 credits for prior learning, military experience, and training. We call that credit where credit is due. Whether you're active duty and looking at what's next, or a veteran looking for something new, our degrees and certificate programs teach the application of emerging technologies and enduring life skills. So get started on a degree or certificate with personalized local support services and online and hybrid courses right here in San Antonio. UMGC keeps your educational goals attainable with no-cost digital materials replacing textbooks in most courses, reduced tuition rates for eligible service members and their families, and scholarships for those who qualify. Get started here in San Antonio. Visit UMGC at San Antonio or umgc.edu/SATX.
It's Extra Innings with Pleasure on 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star.
Welcome back into Extra Innings with Pleasure right here on San Antonio Sports Star 941 FM, sasportstar.com. I am James Pledger. You get me on Instagram, Twitter, all that good stuff, at I Am Pledger. You can follow the station at SA Sports Star. Appreciate it by for rolling along with me tonight. George Pickens, does it change your thoughts on the Dallas Cowboys? I'd like to hear your thoughts about it. 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. Or you can comment along on our YouTube page at SA Sports Star on YouTube. Go ahead, like, subscribe. It's all the good stuff. Now, earlier today on the Blitz, Brooke Pryor, Steelers reporter for ESPN, joined to kind of break down the motives behind the Steelers moving on, the narrative that surrounds George Pickens, his antics, the locker room, and his overall fit for the Dallas Cowboys.
Pittsburgh Steelers reporter Brooke Pryor joining us now on the Buyers Barricades guest line. Brooke, appreciate it. I know it's been a busy day for you. We've been hearing about trades for a while, and now that it's done, my first thought is, if Mike Tomlin gives up on you, I'm guessing it's you and not the organization. So what are the Cowboys actually getting in George Pickens, not on the field, but off?
Well, it's like you mentioned, there's all that other stuff that I think was the main motivator and why the Steelers decided to part ways with him. They're getting a guy who, when he's on and he's focused, he can be, a Pro Bowl caliber wide receiver, an all-pro caliber wide receiver, but he can be very emotional, very volatile. It can be a roller coaster dealing with him. We saw him throughout his career on the sideline, good in these sideline displays of throwing his helmet down, yelling at teammates, not being excited when Deontay Johnson scored a touchdown at one point when they were teammates, just sitting on the bench by himself. You're going to know how he feels all the time. And then on the field, kind of more of the same, at least in terms of like celebrating big catches. He got a couple penalties for celebrations that he wasn't supposed to do. He kicked the ball into the stands after a touchdown. I think at some point for the Steelers, he became more of a headache for their organization than for opposing defenses. And once the balance is kind of tipped in that direction, they decided that it was just not worth it anymore.
Brooke, and when you watch Pickens play, he's a talented guy, and we know about all his antics on the field. What about in the locker room? What did his teammates say about him in the locker room? Was he a bit of a distraction in there as well?
I think that he was a distraction in that his teammates were really tired of being asked about him and being asked about, is what George is doing, does that detract from what you guys are doing as a team? Is it tough to focus when he's doing these things? How do you help keep him in line? How do you help keep him focused? There were times that we saw on the field, like Broderick Jones, who was one of his teammates at Georgia, talking to him in between plays to try to settle him down. I think that teammates at some point felt like they had to constantly appease him or just keep him focused, like it was some of their responsibility to keep him locked in. And I think that that's one of those things that was a detriment. I think you had, last year, Russell Wilson a couple times went out of his way to talk about how much the team believed in George and things like that. And I think a lot of that was trying to keep him buying into this team to get the most out of him production-wise. I think that when he was playing really well, teammates similar to his coaches were willing to put up with the headaches of some of these other things, knowing that he, could be a big asset when everything was going right.
Brooke Pryor joining us here on the Blitz 94.1 at San Antonio Sports Star. She covers the Steelers for ESPN. And Brooke, as I think about Antonio Brown was a productive for most part while he was with Pittsburgh. I don't know why Mike Tomlin always gets receivers that are like this. Like he has a type, right? And then at some point it doesn't work. Knowing George Pickens, at least as we sit right now, comes to Dallas with no new contract. It's a 1-year rental, if you will, as it sits right now. Do you anticipate a George Pickens on his best behavior to get that next contract, whether it's in Dallas or somewhere else?
Well, I don't know. And I think that is entirely up to George, because you would think that he would have been on his best behavior last year to try to get a contract extension in Pittsburgh. And that wasn't the case. He had the outburst last year. He had a game where he showed up with less than 90 minutes until kickoff. Inactives had already been announced. And that is, I talked with guys in the locker room and they said, well, it's not really a big deal, but it is unusual. And so I think that this has to be something that George decides. He has to grow up. That's something that Mike Tomlin said throughout the season. He said after the season, he felt like he had seen some growth in maturity from George, but clearly not enough. And I think that this has got to be a gut check season for him. If you want to be a professional football player, you have to act like a professional football player. And if he doesn't, then I don't know what the likelihood is that he stays in the league. I mean, look no farther than Deontay Johnson, another wide receiver that the Steelers traded away, who then cycled through a number of teams last year when he was unhappy. There's just, I think it is going to be a very fascinating situation to watch unfold.
There's no doubt about that. Let me ask you this, too. If he does mature and has a good season, is George Pickens a guy that would be willing to stay as a number 2 guy? Because obviously Dallas has a number 1 guy in CeeDee Lamb. Or do you think he'd be a guy that would want to go off and explore an opportunity to be that number 1 guy?
I think if he matures, you would hope that he would be okay being a number 2, or at the very least a 1A, 1B situation like Jamar Chase and T. Higgins, which is what the Steelers had previously talked about that they wanted out of George Pickens and DK Metcalf. But obviously they elected to go another route there. But I do think that his skill set should match up well with CeeDee Lamb. Actually, I covered CeeDee Lamb when he was at Oklahoma and I was working for the Oklahoman. I think the two of them can be a really good tandem in terms of George Pickens can take the top off of an offense. You can have CeeDee Lamb running those intermediate routes. The two of them, I think, can complement each other really well if George can put his ego aside. That's something that, wide receivers, you want to be the guy. It's what makes you so good as a wide receiver, that you want to be counted on in the big moments. But there's only one football. It can only go to one person every play, maybe 2 if you run a reverse or a flea flicker, something like that. But still, it is going to be, I think, again, something that George has to decide if he's willing to do that.
Brooke Pryor here on the Blitz. So, and again, I think of organizations, the Steelers organization very well, lot more than most of us listening and me and the inner workings of it. But I know what it's like in Dallas, and I kind of think I know what it's like in Pittsburgh. It's 2 very different environments inside that locker room and the structure. The idea that you covered CeeDee Lamb, so CeeDee well, George well, your perception of Dak as a strong locker room leader, is this the kind of environment that you expect George Pickens to excel in?
I think that he is really, I think that it should help him a lot to have a guy like Dak Prescott who can check him, who is a strong leader, because that is one thing that George didn't have in Pittsburgh. That yes, you had a strong leader in Mike Tomlin as the coach, who is a player's coach and is very present in the locker room, but still he didn't have a peer who was a leader, another player who could lead like that on the offensive side of the ball. He came here at a time he was drafted the same year as Kenny Pickett. Obviously that didn't work out. Russell Wilson was only here briefly. So I think that Dak Prescott should help. I'm very interested to see how George Pickens deals with the spotlight that comes with Dallas, because yes, there's a spotlight in Pittsburgh too, but you're right, it is very different because Pittsburgh tries to keep everything in-house and you never really know the full extent of the turmoil that's going on behind the scenes. Dallas, Jerry Jones is going to get on the radio, as you guys know, and air all that dirty laundry. And that might actually work out in George's favor. Maybe he needs to be held accountable in that way, but it's going to be a reality show, I think. And either he turns into, a main character and he thrives in that because he very much has a main character personality, or he gets really frustrated at all of the asks and all of the scrutiny. Because I can tell you, he did not love talking with the media in Pittsburgh, and the Dallas media is going to, I think, be even more amplified than what we were.
Yeah, I don't think there's any question about that, Brooke. You're exactly right. All right, we know that that George Pickens is going to be a work in progress. So let's wait and see. What about the Pittsburgh Steelers now. What happens with Aaron Rodgers? Was this move any indication of what he may or may not do?
I don't think so, because I think that Aaron Rodgers, the Steelers' approach to their offseason is the same as their approach to the draft, that they're going to do things regardless of what Aaron Rodgers decides. To me, I don't think that this is a move that took Aaron Rodgers by surprise, because what I've been told is that the Steelers have remained in pretty constant communication with Rodgers throughout this entire process. So while they're not, sharing the playbook with him, I can imagine that they let him know that this is something that could be a possibility. Because as a quarterback, that's what you'd want to know. What kind of roster will I have? What weapons will I have? And I do think that Aaron Rodgers and George Pickens were going to butt heads if they ended up in the same locker room. Knowing the type of player that Aaron Rodgers is, he has a very high standard that he holds his wide receivers to. He wants to see clean routes, crisp routes. You need to be where he expects you to be. You need to know his hand signals, all of those things. George Pickens is not that type of player. He sometimes didn't run the correct route, sometimes stopped running routes. He was very much a guy that, didn't have to study for the test, but could get an A because he's just so smart. And I don't see that meshing well with Aaron Rodgers. Now, I don't think Rodgers was necessarily going to complain if he had two weapons like George Pickens and DK Metcalf, but I think that he will be just fine without him. So I don't get the sense that this has impacted Rodgers' decision and the timeline of that. And that is something that only Aaron Rodgers knows.
Curious, Brooke, if we just set a record talking about 10 minutes with a Pittsburgh reporter and not bringing up Aaron Rodgers for about 10 minutes. Is that the longest you've gone in a conversation without somebody asking about that dude?
I think so. I think that set a record by about 9 minutes. So yeah, I almost forgot he existed for a minute. That was really nice.
Yeah, you're getting rid of one level of crazy for another as far as your coverage goes. But then you look at it, and because I was going to ask, do you think this move from Pittsburgh was more to appease Aaron Rodgers than maybe even Mike Tomlin?
No, I get the sense that this is a move that they made for the long term. No matter what happens at quarterback this year, they knew that going into this offseason, knowing that George Pickens is extension eligible going into the last year of his rookie deal, if he doesn't get an extension, if they say we're not going to extend you, or the Steelers are not offering terms that he is comfortable with or that he likes, this could have turned into a holdout, a hold-in. There could have been, subtweets on social media or on Instagram. It could have gotten really messy. And then regardless of the quarterback, if George Pickens does play this year, he has not been shy about letting people know when he has been unhappy with the quarterback situation. There was a time that there was a comment under one of his Instagram posts that was something along the lines of, imagine what George Pickens could do if he had a real quarterback. And he liked that comment, or his Instagram account liked that comment. And then he said that he didn't have comments turned on his Instagram, which wasn't true. So I think that in the long run, this is the Steelers saying, okay, this relationship has run its course. Doesn't matter who's throwing the football, George Pickens will not be catching it.
From what you're hearing, Brooke, before we let you go, the trade compensation, Cowboys really only give up a third-round pick. Did they overpay, underpay, or is that about right?
I think that's about right. I think if they had given up a second-round pick, this would have been a no-doubt win for the Steelers. But I think the Cowboys looked at some of the Steelers' previous trades with some of these disgruntled wide receivers or just volatile wide receivers, like Chicago giving up a second-round pick for Chase Claypool that then turned into essentially the 32nd pick, because that was the year that Miami didn't have a first-round pick. And the Steelers essentially get an extra first-round pick for a wide receiver who was no longer in the league and who did not add anything of value to Chicago. So I think that this was a very smart move by Dallas. Even if it doesn't, I think, pan out, it's still relatively low risk, especially considering you don't land that wide receiver in the draft. And I mean, Dallas has, I think, juggled a lot of big personalities. So maybe in that way, they might be better equipped to deal with it than most, because they are good at ignoring it or leaning into it. But for whatever reason, I think that it was a good move on their part, and an entertaining one that will give us plenty of content.
Yeah.
Well, the Cowboys always give us a ton of content. That was Brooke Pryor earlier today on the Blitz, Steelers reporter for ESPN and ESPN.com. Jonathan Evans asking on our YouTube Live if I'd still spend a first-round pick on CD Lamb in the fantasy football draft. I mean, it depends how high, but yeah, absolutely. I mean, he is one of the top 3 receivers in all of football when it comes to fantasy production. Look at, he missed all of training camp, came in late, looked noticeably rusty early on, missed some time, still had 101 catches for 1,200 yards and 6 touchdowns last year. And that was with a lot of it with Cooper Rush as his quarterback. So, yeah, I think he is worth it. Now he's going to have a complement on the other side of him that will help alleviate some of the double and triple teams that he was facing all of last year. Yeah, those touchdown numbers are going to go up. Everything's going to go up for CD Lamb. He'll have a full off season with Dak Prescott. Yeah, he's one of the best receivers in football, period. Somebody asked me the other day, I believe it was Joshua Jimenez. Who do you got? Nico Collins or CD Lamb? Straight up, CD Lamb. CD Lamb's a better receiver right now than is Nico Collins. And Nico Collins can't stay healthy right now. And that is one of the knocks on Nico Collins. It's unfortunate, but it's true. 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776 if you want to be a part of the conversation. Plus, we'll talk a little NBA playoffs as we continue here on Extra Innings with Pleasure on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
San Antonio Sports Star.
Hey, San Antonio, this is Kelly Finglass, Senior Director of the world-famous Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders. Don't miss your chance to see our all-new theater production, Dallas Cowboys Cheerleaders on Tour. A night of dazzling performances, electrifying dance routines, a Q&A session, and even a live audition. We're coming to you for one night only, May 25th at the Majestic Theater. Tickets are limited, so go to DallasCowboysCheerleaders.com/tour to learn more today.
Time's running out to find the perfect Mother's Day gift, but it's okay because Macy's is here to help. Shop our annual Mother's Day sale and you'll find gifts that'll make mom say, that's exactly what I wanted. There are diamond necklaces and pendants 30 to 55% off. Handbags from Karl Lagerfeld and Calvin Klein 30% off. And designer fragrance gift sets boxed and ready to give. How easy is that? But don't wait any longer. Mother's Day is Sunday and the sale is happening now at Macy's. Savings off already reduced prices. Exclusions apply.
Progressive knows there are 2 things RV owners love: to travel and relax. And they like to take both nice and slow. Just like this commercial. And what's more relaxing than the peace of mind knowing their RV is protected by Progressive? Now here comes the fast part. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and Affiliates.
Made in America. Highest quality. That's Connecticut Quality Water Softeners. There's a reason Dave Ramsey says a Connecticut is a wise investment for your home.
Trust me, Connecticut water systems are the best of the best. I personally have one in my home. All those other water softener systems out there are junk in comparison. Connecticut uses less water and runs on kinetic energy.
So there's no computer to break, fewer moving parts, and it works only when you need it.
It was even voted most efficient water softener in the world by the Water Quality Association.
For a limited time, receive a free reverse osmosis drinking station at your kitchen sink. $400 off with trade-in and 0% interest for 12 months with approved credit. Call Connecticut of San Antonio and the Hill Country. 210-656-PURE.
Check them out at ConnecticutSA.com. and tell them Dave Ramsey sent you.
License number 38961.
ConnecticutSA.com.
Here's Comedians and Sketchers Getting Comfortable, presented by Hands Free Skechers Slip-Ins.
Hey, I'm Bobby Slayton, and I'm here with my pal, comedian, and Skechers ambassador, Mr. Howie Mandel.
Why did it take so long to invent something as amazing as slip-ins? I know it seems simple, but it took Skechers to invent a better pair of shoes.
Yep, with Skechers slip-ins, you just step it and go. You don't have to touch your shoes. And by the way, slip-ins are for the whole family, men, women, and kids. In all your favorite Skechers styles, find Skechers slip-ins at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Check engine or ABS light on? Take the guesswork out of your warning lights with O'Reilly Veriscan. It's free. Ask for O'Reilly Veriscan.
O'Reilly Auto Parts. Thy ticket, Lady Jennifer of Coolidge.
Well, many thanks, good sir. Hereeth my Discover card.
They accept Discover at Renaissance fairs?
Yeah, they do here. Discover is accepted at the places I love to shop. Get it? With the times.
With the times? You're playing the lute.
Yeah, and it sounds pretty good, right?
Discover is accepted at 99% of places that take credit cards nationwide. Based on the February 2024 Nielsen report.
This is AJ Hoffman from the Morning Huddle. Join me and Rob Thompson tomorrow morning at 6 for the perfect ride to work on 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star.
Welcome back into Extra Innings with Pleasure right here on San Antonio Sports Star. 941 FM, sasportstar.com. I am James Pleasure. You can follow me on Instagram, X, TikTok, all that good stuff. At I am Pleasure. You can follow the station at SA Sports Star. On our YouTube. Nico's very good, though. You're right. Nico is very good. As a Texan, I'm very happy to have Nico Collins, especially at the contract that we're paying him, which is around $25 million per year. But I can admit, CD is better. He is better all around. He is a better player currently than is Nico Collins. Can things change? Absolutely. But if I call it like I see it today on May 7th, 2025, CD's the better player. What say you about the George Pickens trade? 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. Martin, welcome into Extra Innings with Pleasure. What's going on, my man?
How you doing, Pledge?
I'm always good, man. You?
I'm good. I think it was a good pick, and I think that's why they didn't go after a first-round receiver. He'll fit in just nice. I like they got Booker. You know, they need to bolster the offensive line.
Oh, it's bolstered.
I hope the running back from Texas, can, at least, average 3 to 4 yards a run to get some of that pressure off of Dak, and Dak can pay more attention to finding the open man versus throwing the ball just up in the air.
I will give you this. When it comes to Jaden Blue, he will do two things. He will get yards per carry, and he will be a threat out of the backfield in the passing game. The one thing you have to worry about with him, it plagued him at Texas, he fumbles the football.
Yeah, that's true. I don't know. Hopefully they can make a run, and maybe this will be Dak's year because he's getting old in the teeth, and maybe next year we need to start looking at for replacement. You have a good day, sir.
I appreciate it, Martin. Look, Dak's fine. Dak got hurt last year. He got off to a slow start last year because the contract situation, not having CD the entire offseason, like all of these things were factors, especially with a young offensive line and the growth that it had to go throughout the year. It solidified throughout the year. The problem was Dak wasn't there when it started to finally solidify later in the year. And now they continue that growth through the offseason into the beginning of this season. And you give Dak time, it's going to work out. Dak is not a bad quarterback. And for all those people that think Dak's a dink and dunker, Dak, last 2 years, number one, most passes on 15-plus yard goal routes. This is according to Warren Sharp Football, one of the analytic heads. Number two, on most pass attempts on 15-plus yard and go routes. You're now pairing him with the receiver in George Pickens, who was number one in most yards receiving on 15-plus yard go routes, and number two on most catches on 15-plus yard go routes. So the narrative that Dak is a dink and dunker is a false narrative. It's a narrative that people like to throw around that has no validity to it because they just don't like Dak. So they're going to agree with whatever thing that they read online, true or not, about his quarterback ability. And he is a good quarterback, especially in the regular season. Is he the best quarterback in the league? No. Is he the worst quarterback in the league? No. Is he above being in the middle? Yes. Is he good enough to win with? Yes. Does he need a lot of things around him? Yes. Guess what? There's one quarterback in the league that's done it with things taken away from him. That's Patrick Mahomes. No other quarterback can win without weapons. As a matter of fact, they had to super nuke all the weapons around Jalen Hurts on both offense and defense for him to finally win a Super Bowl. And remember, when was Dak at his absolute peak? With prime Zeke, when he had a running game, when they committed to the running game and he could play action off it. What has Brian Schottenheimer told us all off season that he wants to do? He wants to run the football. He wants to build this line behind the running game and play action off of it. What did they do to this offseason to solidify that? They went and got Clayton Adams, the offensive line coach in Arizona, to be the offensive coordinator. They went and got the offensive coordinator at Kansas State, where they run the football, to be the offensive line coach here in Dallas. They have done all the things in a way similar to what they have preached. Unlike, let's say, Mike McCarthy, who's always saying he wanted to run the ball. No, he just wanted to call plays. Never wanted to run the ball. And one of my favorite things, and it goes unnoticed because the time with the draft and everything that's happened between here and there. But this is one of my favorite things from the draft. And I got to play it for y'all because remember when the quote came out that McCarthy was firing Kellen Moore after having the number one offense and was being top 10 for the last 2 years in rushing attempts and rushing yards and rush yards per carry. That was Kellen Moore's offense. He ran the football. It wasn't always at the most opportune times, but he had a commitment to run the football. They ran the football with Kellen Moore. That went away with Mike McCarthy. So Mike McCarthy joined Pat McAfee for the draft special. And when the Saints took Kelvin Banks, well, Mike McCarthy was very, very excited about that, but I don't know if he understood what he was saying until after it came out of his mouth.
I think Kellen will have a great time run in pass, but Coach, he's got it up front. Coach, Kellen just came from Philadelphia. Yep. Obviously, this is just like Ben Johnson with the Bears. The first thing Ben Johnson does coming out of Detroit with their great offensive line, load up the Bears offensive line. Kellen Moore coming out of Philadelphia, first thing they do, load up this offensive line. It's a trenches sport, always will be. Kellen Moore also liked to run that ball a lot last year in Philly. Don't you think that is?
Hell yeah. Control that clock. No, I think that that's funny. But I think the biggest thing is, like I said 3 times, I mean, that's going to be that O-line will impact.
He caught it there. Run the damn ball. So, I believe in Brian Schottenheimer and what he says and what he wants to do and what his philosophy is offensively. And I will believe him until he shows me otherwise. But yeah, I believe that they will run the ball. And that's going to be very beneficial to Dak Prescott, this offense, and especially guys like CeeDee Lamb and now George Pickens on the other side. This is Extra Innings with Pledge. More with you and your phone calls coming up next. Plus, we'll look at some of these NBA playoff games. That's all coming up here on Extra Innings with Pledge on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
You know, the Rue Pub is proven to be the best place to watch games with those 3 massive 170-inch screens and TVs all around. All the games, all the fights, and when you show up at the Rue Pub, show up hungry. The food is fantastic. Open daily at 11. Great for lunch, great for dinner, great for late at night, and the best place to watch a game. Just down from the Big Blind, right next to the Angry Elephant. The Rue Pub, 281 in Redland Road. We'll see you at the Rue.
Listen up, San Antonio. At University of Maryland Global Campus, you can get college credit for the stripes you've earned. Turn your military rank into college credit to save time and money on an online degree. Eligible enlisted service members and previously enlisted veterans may receive up to 12 credits for select undergraduate courses based on their rank, and up to 90 credits in total for prior learning, military experience, and training. Classes start soon. Learn more at umgc.edu/SATX.
Don't let pain hold you back from living your best life. I'm Dr. Jason Garrett with Arasti. At Arasti, we're dedicated to providing fast, effective relief from pain. Whether you've been dealing with a chronic discomfort for years or have recently suffered an injury, our goal is to help you recover quickly. Our treatment is all natural, non-invasive, and covered by most insurance plans. With convenient locations nearby, relief is just a call away. Visit Arasti.com. That's AIRROSTI.com. Arasti, we fix pain fast.
There's a reason Intuitive Services Group handles our janitorial needs here at 94.1. They're local and serious about cleanliness. From nightly cleaning to detailed floor care, they deliver. We trust them, and you can too. Call Mo at 830-470-3007. That's 830-470-3007.
Coverage varies by plan. View contracts and exclusions at endurancewarranty.com.
If you're driving a car or truck with an expired warranty and suddenly lost your transmission or needed a full engine repair, would a $4,000 repair bill leave you stranded? I'm Danica Patrick. Don't get caught off guard with a vehicle breakdown. Choose the company I trust, Endurance. No matter the mileage, if your vehicle is less than 20 years old, Endurance offers auto protection plans for any budget. Protection on the drivetrain, electrical, transmission, AC, and more. Plus 24/7 roadside assistance and rental car reimbursement on any plan. Endurance handles everything from making the claim to paying the certified mechanic of your choice. Act now and get 1 full year of elite benefits, a $2,000 value, free.
Call for your fast free quote today. Call 800-298-2007. That's 800-298-2007. 800-298-2007.
Get ready for Camping World's Red, White, and New Trade Event, May 15th through the 18th. Get the highest value for your RV guaranteed during the biggest RV trade event of the year. Shop the best RV deals in America with new RVs starting as low as $92 a month. Get ready for the holiday weekend with up to 45% off grills and 25% off product installation. Plus, we'll have free hats, free propane refills, free food, and fun for the whole family. Don't miss the incredible Red, White, and New Trade Event, May 15th through the 18th at your local Camping World.
See full details and display. You've decided to divorce. I'm attorney Steve Benke. If you're worried about getting the bills paid, childcare, and your divorce, we'll help make it simple, painless, and affordable.
Your future matters. Call the law office of Steve Benke.
Call 210-DIVORCE or go to BenkeLaw.com. David is a real Prevagen user, and this is his story.
Nice to meet you. My name is David. I've been a pharmacist for 44 years, and I'm from Flowery Branch, Georgia. When I first started taking Prevagen, I noticed stuff just seemed to come together and fit like a jigsaw puzzle. When I have customers come in, I recommend Prevagen. Number one, because it's safe and effective, does not require a prescription, and I've been taking it quite a while myself, and I know it works. I wouldn't recommend something like Prevagen if I didn't think it was worth it, because it works so good for me. And I love it when the customers come back in and tell me, David, that really works so good. Makes my day.
Prevagen, at stores everywhere without a prescription. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease. Testimonialist was compensated for their time.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, let's talk ED, because millions of men experience it, but not everyone can access or afford treatments like Viagra. Hims can help. Through Hims.com, you can access a full range of treatment options for ED through a 100% online process. To start your free online visit and save up to 95%, go to Hims.com/joy. HIMS.com/JOY.
Welcome back into Extra Innings with Pleasure here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star, 94.1 FM, SASportsStar.com. James Pleasure here with you, taking you up to the top of the hour as we close things out, especially with our talks on George Pickens, the Dallas Cowboys, the move for them. Jane Slater just tweeted this. Dallas Cowboys insider, friend of the station. Wake up, fans. Jerry Jones and the Cowboys are moving different. Some more details about why I think this is crazy enough to work. From tonight's Insiders, Jerry is celebrating somewhere with his Johnny Walker Blue. Other few notes, they are not extending or reworking the deal. Both sides want a prove-it year. This helps incentivize maturation needed from the 24-year-old receiver in Pickens, but also helps him to reset the market amid outside narratives on his personality. She also believes that the talented wide receivers like Pickens and Dez Bryant need great community, and that happens to be one of the things that really stands out with Shoddy, in her opinion, in the way that he's built this locker room and this culture through this offseason. She's been plenty critical of this team, but objectively loved the offseason, from the draft to the trades to free agency. Their ability to address needs without breaking the bank. Some other notes, she believes they're done for now. Was told that rumored moves like Breece Hall and Nick Chubb were never in play. Same with Stephon Gilmore, but not ruling out Gilmore if he's available near or during training camp as we monitor the process of Trayvon Diggs' rehab. So there you go, from an insider who has, a lot like RJ Ochoa, bashed the Cowboys a lot through this past year with the way that they've handled their business. We can objectively see they're moving different. They're doing things differently this year, and that is big for the Dallas Cowboys as they approach this season. I appreciate all y'all for rolling through with me tonight. Of course, enjoy the playoff games. Call those that you love. Check on them. Let them know you're thinking about them. You never know what people are going through in life, because simple, hey, how you doing, could change their whole day. This has been Extra Innings with Pleasure. Don't forget, Rob and AJ tomorrow morning start you off at 6. And then, of course, Jason and Joe on the Blitz tomorrow 2 to 6. And then you come right back with me right here at 6 on Extra Innings with Pleasure. Good night, guys. We'll see y'all tomorrow.
San Antonio's Sports Star.
The playoffs are in full swing, and you can get in on all the action at ESPN Bet Sportsbook. Go from tracking the latest game